Legend says a goat herder in Ethiopia noticed his goats dancing after eating red berries from a certain bush. He tried them himself. He did not sleep that night. Tonight we are going to talk about coffee, quietly and slowly. Find a cool, dark place and listen in. There is nowhere else you need to be. Fact 1. The goat herder's name, according to legend, was Kaldi. The story is likely more folklore than fact, but it remains the most widely told origin tale of coffee, passed down for centuries in Ethiopian tradition. Fact 2. Coffee was first brewed as a drink in Yemen, not Ethiopia. Sufi monasteries in the 15th century used it to stay awake during long nights of prayer, roasting and boiling the beans in a method not far from how coffee is still prepared today. Fact 3. Coffee was banned in Mecca in 1511. Religious authorities feared it stimulated radical thinking and encouraged gatherings where people might criticize the government. The ban did not last, and coffee houses eventually became common throughout the region. Fact 4. Coffee was banned again in Italy in the 16th century, this time by the Church, which considered it a suspicious Muslim drink. Pope Clement VIII reportedly tasted it himself before deciding to bless it instead, effectively legalizing coffee across Catholic Europe. Fact 5. England briefly banned coffee houses in 1675. King Charles II worried they had become breeding grounds for political dissent, where men gathered to discuss and criticize the monarchy. The ban lasted only 11 days before public backlash forced it to be lifted. Fact 6. Coffee houses in 17th century London were sometimes called penny universities. For the price of a single cup, anyone could sit for hours, read newspapers, and take part in intellectual discussions with strangers, a level of access to information and debate that was unusual for the era. Fact 7. Lloyd's of London, now one of the largest insurance markets in the world, began as a coffee house. Edward Lloyd's shop became a meeting place for ship owners and merchants to discuss and arrange marine insurance deals, eventually evolving into the institution that exists today. Fact 8. The word coffee likely comes from the Arabic word kahwa, which originally referred to a type of wine. The word traveled through Turkish as kahve, before entering European languages as some variation of coffee or café. Fact 9. Brazil is the largest coffee producer in the world, responsible for roughly a third of global supply. Coffee was introduced there in the 18th century, and the country has remained the dominant producer for well over 100 years. Fact 10. There are two main species of coffee grown commercially, Arabica and Robusta. Arabica is considered smoother and more aromatic, while Robusta contains more caffeine and has a stronger, harsher taste. Most specialty coffee is Arabica. Fact 11. A single coffee tree produces enough cherries in a year to make roughly 1 pound of roasted coffee. Each cherry contains 2 beans, and it takes several years for a newly planted tree to produce its first harvest. Fact 12. Coffee is one of the most heavily traded commodities in the world, behind only oil in terms of total global trade value for many decades. Millions of people across dozens of countries depend on coffee farming for their livelihood. Fact 13. Instant coffee was invented in the early 20th century, though early attempts date back further. It became widely popular during the Second World War, when soldiers were supplied with instant coffee rations that required no equipment to prepare in the field. Fact 14. Decaffeination was developed almost by accident. A German coffee merchant named Ludwig Roselius discovered a process to remove caffeine after a shipment of coffee beans was damaged by seawater during transport, altering their chemical composition. Fact 15. The world's most expensive coffee is called Kopi Luwak. It is made from coffee cherries that have been eaten and partially digested by a civet, a small mammal native to Southeast Asia. The digestive process alters the beans in a way some claim improves flavor. Fact 16. Espresso was developed in Italy in the late 19th and early 20th centuries as a way to brew coffee more quickly for busy workers. The word espresso comes from the Italian for pressed out, referring to the pressurized brewing method. Fact 17. Cappuccino gets its name from Capuchin friars, whose brown robes reportedly resembled the color of the drink once milk was added to espresso. The name has stuck for centuries, long outlasting most people's awareness of its origin. Fact 18. Coffee was once used as currency in parts of Ethiopia and Yemen, traded and bartered much like other valuable goods, before formal currency systems became widespread in those regions. Fact 19. The Boston Tea Party indirectly boosted American coffee consumption. As tea became associated with British taxation and control, coffee became a patriotic alternative, and its popularity in America grew significantly in the years that followed. Fact 20. Voltaire, the French philosopher, was said to drink an extraordinary number of cups of coffee each day, sometimes reported as high as 40, though historians consider this figure likely exaggerated by his contemporaries. Fact 21. Coffee contains over 1,000 distinct chemical compounds, contributing to its complex aroma and flavor. Scientists still do not fully understand every compound's individual contribution to the overall taste of a brewed cup. Fact 22. The Frappuccino, a drink now associated globally with modern coffee culture, was actually invented by a small coffee shop chain in Boston, before the recipe and name were later acquired by a much larger company. Fact 23. Finland consumes more coffee per capita than any other country in the world. The average Finnish adult drinks several cups daily, a habit closely tied to the country's cold climate and long dark winters. Fact 24. Coffee cherries turn a deep red when ripe, similar in color to certain berries, which is part of why some historians believe early stories describe them as unusual fruit, rather than something used to brew a drink. Fact 25. The world drinks over 2 billion cups of coffee every single day. It has survived religious bans, royal decrees, and centuries of political suspicion, and yet it remains one of the most consumed beverages on the planet, quietly present in nearly every waking morning, all over the world. From a dancing goat in Ethiopia to 2 billion cups a day, coffee has traveled further than almost anything else we drink. And tonight, somewhere in the world, someone is brewing their first cup, while you are settling into your last thoughts before sleep. Sleep well.